Yeah, you can't. I mean, I think I'm a firm believer in if you get a good director, a good script, good actors, good cinematography, you usually are going to have a winner. You know, it's
Yeah.
now.
Hello?
Hello, you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was shortly after this, but eventually, in 1982, you moved to your other big TV series, Falcon Crest, playing Richard Channing, which I think you missed the first season, but you were in all the rest of the seasons. I
Yeah.
think every single episode for those 8 seasons.
Yeah, yeah. The 8 or 9 seasons I did. Well, what happened back then, I wasn't available. Well, they were going to do that show, you know, Larmar Productions, Larmar, under Merv Adelson and a fellow named Lee Rich. But basically, Merv was the man there, and Lee. But Merv, we had a nice relationship, and they had asked me to do a few things, and I'd been unable to because of conflicts with with the schedule, with the work I was doing. So they needed help with a show called Flamingo Road, and I was in Boston doing a play. And we were going to move the play down to Stratford for a while, where it had started. This is with a wonderful actress, Jane Alexander, and her husband was the director of it, Ed Sheeran. And anyway, Jane said I got a visit from somebody, and after a show, we were at the Huntington Hartford up in Boston. And Jane said, "Why don't you do it? Do it." And I'll tell Ed. You know, her husband was the director of the show. So when we got back down to the theater down in Connecticut, I decided, yes, I'll go to California. So that's pretty much right away I did. I went to, we went off to start that project. And that was Flamingo Road. And then out of Flamingo Road, which wasn't going to last, but there's some good friends there, including Mark Harmon, I think Stella Stevens, Barbara Rush. Just so many. Anyway, we did, I got a visit one day from a couple of writers, and my dear friend, Earl Hamner. And years before, I'd done an episode of The Walton. And Earl came to see me on the soundstage at Warner Brothers. And so a couple of writers came over on the day I was leaving. We were shutting down Flamingo Road. I was going back to New York. And a couple of writers, Henry Stern, Stephen Black, came over and said, "David, we're going to see you real soon." So I got back to New York. I wasn't there a week when I got a call from Earl. And Earl said, "Hey, why don't you read this book?" It was about a tycoon. What's the famous tycoon's name?
Onassis?
No, this guy lived up in, he has a famous house up here in California. He built this mansion. Anyway, it was that. And then I read Ted Turner's father, about Ted Turner. And I read all of that. And this was the character of Richard Channing. And Earl said, "Just read about these hard, these business people." So I did. The first scene, when I came to California, I flew right to Napa.
Mm-hmm.
And my first scene was with Jane Wyman. And from that moment on, Jane and I became great friends. So I was very, delighted with her help. And Earl was there at the time. And then first few seasons, he wasn't with us. Earl wasn't, because he had other shows. But after shooting in Napa, we came down to L.A. But every year we go back to Napa for about 6 weeks and do all our location shooting for the first half of the season. Then we come down to L.A. to the studios and do the interior for those shows. And then, the rest of it would be down here. But every year we went up to Napa. But anyway, that's how that started. And Richard Channing, I was blessed with a great number of actors that came onto that show. And they were if you wanted a certain actor to come on or whatever, they would try to get that actor for you.
Mm-hmm.
Ann Archer came on to do some episodes. There was Lana Turner, and Lana's daughter was wonderful, as I loved Lana too. Now, she and Jane may have had some difficulties here and there, but the people that were on that show, from I think it was Leslie Caron, Gina Lollobrigida, all of the people.
Yeah, I know. One person I know you talked about Jane Wyman. Another actor, Sarah Douglas. I've always enjoyed,
yeah.
And she's always good at playing strong female characters, and sometimes they're evil, or people portray them as evil, but she does such a good job of it. What was it like working with her?
Sarah and I got to have a lot of scenes together, as I recall. And, oh man, there were just so many, just so many fine actors. Even E.G. Marshall was on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think he played my father, actually, in a couple of episodes, just right there at the beginning when I was on. And Cesar Romero. You remember Cesar?
Oh, everybody. I mean, what can you say?
We called him Butch. That was his name. I called him Butch.
I always remember him as the Joker from, the Batman series. And
yeah.
But I've seen him in other work too. And again, he does such a great job.
Mel Ferrar.
Mel
Remember
Ferrar.
Mel Ferrar?
Yes.
Yeah. Cliff Robertson.
I mean,
Kim Novak.
The series had just about like everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was Jane Greer, who was a good friend of Joan Bennett. Anyway.
Sometimes
I
think you've been so blessed to have so many of these different actors early on and later on to work with. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yes, I've been blessed. I have. And I'm not a Pollyanna. But I never had there was never a disagreement. There were only hugs and kisses and lunches together, dinners together. Let's do this. Let's do that. Just good support and respect for each other. It was, and that's the way those sets were.
And that's the amazing thing. And I think when you have a place where you go to work and everybody is enjoying themselves, it makes it a lot easier. But then when you're going to a place and you're just, nobody wants to be there, or somebody's having a tiff, and it's like, oh, and then it makes it, you don't want to go, and it puts you in a negative frame of mind. So when you're already waking up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm ready to, you're in a positive frame, it makes the performances that much better.
Yeah. Yeah. And the directors of the show, that came on. Anyway.
Now in the last decade, you've had some interesting, again, for anybody who looks at David's IMDb page, it's a long list.
I avoid that.
which just shows